Hey everybody, we are back for yet another bi-weekly Q&A.
Yay!
With everyone's favorite video host and fish enthusiast, aquatics enthusiast really, Thomas.
This guy.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Brian?
I'm good. No one really cares how we're doing because everyone really wants to know the pressing question here.
Yes.
Are there donuts for Brian?
I don't know, Brian. Are there donuts for you?
There better be donuts for me or else this live stream is ending very quickly and violently.
Well, I have good news, Brian. I brought donuts.
Where I don't see them. Are they imaginary donuts? Funny guy.
I'm sure you can tell I hid them in my jacket so Brian couldn't see. But I actually brought donuts.
That's amazing. Open them up. Let's see them. These are homemade donuts.
Yeah.
Not like Tim Hortons, we stop at the donut shop on the way here.
No, we made them fresh this morning, dude.
These are legit. Oh, they smell amazing. I wish you guys could smell this.
We wanted to make the glaze as Canadian as possible. I'm going to say, first off, my wife did like 99.9% of this work. So thank you, Eva.
Eva, you're in here. Today you're in here. And you for bringing them.
Yeah. All I did was decorate them, basically. But it's...
Guys, we did it. We got donuts for Brian. I'm excited. Oh, yes.
I know. Brian, okay, you need to understand, Brian loves donuts.
It's my thing. It's my one weakness.
It's almost a problem.
Oh, no, it's definitely a problem.
I would on purpose, when we were working at the office together, when we were still living in Ontario, get a donut every morning, and it would always be some crazy donut that I couldn't finish.
What was it? It was like a donut with maple, cinnamon toast crunch sprinkled on top, or bacon or something.
There was one with candied bacon and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I would eat only I couldn't have it, only eat half, and Brian would be like, no, I can't eat it. And I'm like, Brian, I'm going to throw it out.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
This is when I was 40 pounds heavier. I lost 40 pounds last summer, so I'm trying to maintain. But at the same time, donuts,
What are friends for? Trying to ruin your...
Oh, man, I'm excited.
Ruin your diet.
All right, well,
so anyways, it's maple glaze. I tried to keep it Canadian, so it's maple syrup glaze.
Well, guys, we'll get right into the questions. I'm just going to try one of these first, get it out of the way, and then we'll jump right into this Q&A. Are you going to enjoy one with me?
Oh, fine. I mean, what you don't know is I've already eaten 10 of these.
Guys, we'd love to. I wish we could, Hey, donut cheers.
Cheers. Buddy, look at that perfect sponginess.
Oh, it's good. Eva, you've outdone yourself. And guys, thank you. Donuts for Brian, the campaign worked. I finally got him. We had to pressure this guy. We had to really make him feel bad, but we did it. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm sorry that I flopped so many times. I'm scatterbrained a lot. Often.
You know what? I can finally forgive you. This makes everything right.
All right.
You could kidnap one of my children. I'd be all right with it if you just left a box
of
donuts
a donut in
their stead, yeah. Does Lucas look weird to you? No, it looks great. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you. Let's get to the questions.
What do we got?
All right, guys. So, lots of questions waiting. Let me finish my mouthful first. This is awful. All right. Can longfin zebra danios or longfin black skirt tetras live with angelfish in a 45-gallon low-tech planted tank?
I would say probably the black skirt tetras. You know what? The danios... Okay, here, I'm going to be honest. I haven't really sat and watched how longfin danios move and if their finnage really slows them down, because with most longfin species of fish, the extra finnage adds a lot of extra drag in the water so that when they try to swim at top speed, it's way slower than it normally would be for that fish. Obviously, it's like trying to run holding a big blanket behind you, right?
Right.
So, danios in general with angelfish shouldn't be a huge issue because danios are very, very fast, so they can often outswim angelfish if there is aggression there. But with the long fins, I'm not entirely sure. And the black skirt tetras, because they're a larger tetra, are unlikely to be predated upon by angelfish. So in general, they would typically be more so okay than something like a neon tetra if you're worried about them getting et, which is a possibility because angelfish, again, are predators and they get pretty big. But the finnage would also potentially... make the angels a little bit more so aggressive because anything with more flamboyant fins they might see as competition. Although the fish are much smaller, I would say proceed with caution. It's entirely possible that the angels will leave the tetras alone, especially if you have a decent school of them. The angels will see the school as like a group of fish and not solo one out and just beat the snot out of it. And the Danios still potentially would have enough speed to outmaneuver the angels, but I would still proceed with caution. It makes me nervous.
Cool. He also says, or should I get some cherry barbs?
Cherry barbs are always good. I like cherry barbs a lot. They're pretty quick too.
There you go. Okay, can you talk about clownfish?
I can.
At length.
Yeah.
We actually did a whole video on it because he has so much to say.
Yeah, there is a clownfish video. So Brian's going to find that and link it for you. This is what I'll say about clownfish. It is almost the perfect beginner fish if you want to start adventuring into saltwater or marine aquariums. They're very hardy. They've been bred in captivity for such a long time now that they have become completely accustomed to aquarium life. Or life in a fish tank. So they're a great option. They're dopey to watch swim. They're a lot of fun. There's lots of different morphs of clownfish now, especially looking at Percula or Ocellaris clowns, which are the ones that most resemble Nemo. There's lots of different morphs now. You can even get morphs of maroon clowns. I think there's a few. The lightning maroon clownfish is one that comes to mind. And they're great. And they're good. Most clownfish are good for smaller aquariums. Maroon clownfish get very big. So they aren't very appropriate if you're not going to have a tank bigger than 90 gallons. The biggest maroon clown I ever saw was like almost, I'm not even joking, like this big. It blew my mind when I saw it. But yeah, no, they're awesome clownfish. One of my favorites are skunk clownfish, either orange skunk clownfish, I guess you'd call them like the classic skunk clownfish, and then pink skunk clowns, which are also very cool. Saddlebacks are nice. Anyways, but they're great fish. They're awesome. They do the best in pairs. People now keep them in harems too, which are massive, basically schools of clownfish being the only fish in the tank. We're talking like 20 fish plus just clownfish in that aquarium. Wow. But otherwise, pairs of a single species are your best bet for compatibility because they can get very aggressive with each other. And that's it. That's what I'm going to say about clownfish.
I've linked the video. It's there for you. Check that out. It's a pretty good overview of how to care for them and take care of them and all that.
Yep.
Which is the same thing. I'm redundant. Okay, so next up, I have a blue Crowntail Betta. One scale on his forehead is gray. Maybe that's part of his look, but should I be worried?
No. I've had bettas that their heads were completely speckled with brown scales, just randomly. Red betta, brown scales on his head. I don't know why. In general, unless there is a texture to the scale, so like a fuzziness, or it looks indented, or it looks like it's missing, there's really nothing to worry about. There's so many different pigmentations that are patterns you can get in betta fish and lots of different fish that, like, if one scale is a different color, it can mean literally nothing. If that scale randomly changed color, like overnight, that could be an indication of something. But if it's just always been that way, it's really nothing to worry about. Anytime you're looking for color change in a fish to indicate something, it's got to be color change that happens usually very quickly, or color change in conjunction with something else, like texture change or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. In my tank, I have cichlids and a flower horn, a small flower horn. The flower horn in my tank got internal parasite, and now it keeps hiding behind the filter and not eating. What to do in this case?
You got to medicate for parasites. If you're positive it's a parasite, you have to medicate. The tough part about medicating for parasites is the best way to medicate for internal parasites is to get the fish to ingest something that has medication. But if the fish isn't eating, that's very difficult.
It's like kids or a dog or whatever. You have to put it, like, sneak in some cheese and be like, here you go.
Yeah, but the problem is he's not eating.
Oh, that's
he's
right.
not even eating food, so it makes it
not even cheese. Oh,
very difficult. But
every time.
Yeah, I know. Flower horns usually love cheese.
Cheese is everyone loves
everything
cheese,
likes
especially
cheese.
That's what I've heard about flower horns.
Yeah, no, that's going to be a tough one, but you probably should look at medicating. Just either in quarantine, or if it's the only fish in the tank, just medicate the whole tank. But you can reach out to our support team and they can get you in touch with our medication experts.
Indeed.
And kind of help you figure that out. Because before we start recommending medications, we just want to make sure through a series of questions and back and forth that is exactly what's wrong with your fish.
Right. That's a good point right now to mention that if you do have very, very specific questions about your specific fish and one very specific issue with it, it's kind of tough for Thomas to give a really in-depth, accurate answer for that specific case because he doesn't see any photos or video. He doesn't really have much context. So it is best to email our support team and they will do their best to get that looked at and help you out and kind of make recommendations and tell you on a much more in-depth level what to do.
Absolutely. I'll try to field the question
we'll try
anyways.
And field it, but just so you know, we may have to
if I defer to generalizations, it's because we need you to give us more info.
Indeed. Okay, so next up, what makes a guppy fin at the back look like it's been chewed off? I have checked for fin rot, but there does not appear to be any.
Is it in with other guppies? Is it getting harassed? Is it in with other fish that could potentially be picking at its beautiful flowy finnage?
It might look chewed off because it's chewed off.
Yeah, it might actually just be getting chewed up. Like male guppies will often spar with each other and chase each other around and nip at fins, and that is a very common side effect of that. So there are, I believe, I'm pretty sure there are some guppy breeds that just have very oddly shaped, almost looks like jagged edged or torn finnage, and in that case that's just that guppy's fins and there's nothing you can do about it. That's just genetically what it's going to look like. But if it's a guppy that had a perfect like a perfectly round tail and then a couple days later it looked all shredded, it sounds like aggression. Now what you have to worry about is sometimes you can get secondary infection, especially if you have poor water quality. You can get secondary infection that can lead to things like fin rot or bacterial infections that can cause more harm to the already ravaged guppy tail. So things like Melafix could help with that, or Pimafix, depending.
Cool. I finally found a good used Fluval Flex on a used website, and I'm picking it up late this evening.
Congratulations!
It has live plants.
Ooh.
How can I store the plants for the evening/morning so I can clean and prep the tank?
So what I would do is just take them. There's a few ways to do it, but what I would typically do is get some Ziploc bags, nice thick ones like Ziploc freezer bags, the big guys. Get some paper towel and soak the paper towel in water from the aquarium, and when you pull the plants out, just wrap the bases where the roots are basically in the wet paper towel, and then put that in the Ziploc bag, and once it's full of plants, just zip the bag shut and they will be fine until morning like that. The other option is just grab a bucket and literally throw all the plants in a bucket full of water, and that should also suffice until morning.
Cool.
Depends what you feel, if you feel like carrying around like a 5-gallon 50 pounds of water or not.
Right. What's the cheapest way to cure ick? It's spreading in my tank.
The cheapest way to cure ick. Medication is not inexpensive. It's not crazy expensive, but it's all like relatively similar in price for the amount that it treats. So ick medication's ick medication. If the ick is really, really bad, medicating is sometimes the best course of action. Otherwise, you can also try things like raising the temperature to expedite. There it is. Hi-ya! Expedite the life cycle of the ick. It is a parasite. Ick parasite, so that it grows up and dies faster. And as long as the fish are in a healthy environment, that they should not continuously be getting ick. Usually what I'm worried about when something gets ick is figuring out where the ick came from, because ick is usually something that fish fend off no problem unless their immune system's compromised. So much like we usually don't get colds if we're very, very healthy, but if we're not feeling well or not doing well in general or really tired or stressed or whatever, we're more likely to get ill. Fish are very much the same. So if they have a compromised immune system, they can get ick much easier. So why did they get ick? Why does your fish have ick? Do you have poor water quality right now? Maybe you let off a water change when you should have been doing one. Was the fish just transferred? Is that fish getting bullied? Find out what the source of the problem was that caused the fish to get ick, and try to also treat that and not just the symptoms of the current issue, which is ick. Because if you just treat for ick and don't fix what made it get ick, other fish could probably get ick as well, and or that fish is just going to get sick again afterwards. And just so you know, medicating fish is hard on them. It's not like, especially with a medication that you treat in the water, like you broadcast treat. And the reason that is because ick medication tends to be caustic, so it burns the outside of their body, which is what burns the ick off, kills the ick. So it's hard on them physically, and if they don't have a nice environment to recover in that's perfectly clean and healthy, they could also just die of other complications, not just the fact that they could get ick again.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Yes.
Next up, do loaches eat snails?
Some loaches eat snails. I don't know if all loaches eat snails. Boatia loaches are supposed to be pretty good at it. Things like yo-yo loaches, zebra loaches, clown loaches, they like snails. They like to eat a lot of other things too, so you got to give them like a varied diet. You can't just throw them in and be like, eat the snails, and that's all you get. But they should also eat your snails.
Sweet. Why do my guppies change color after I feed them?
What color do they change?
Solid question.
Sometimes fish can change. I have no idea. This.
You sounded like you were about to go into an actual.
I am. So sometimes fish change color based on mood or excitement. So you can get fish that while stressed or while they're sparring with other fish in the tank, or while they're just chilling out, can exhibit muted colors or stress barring even if they're not technically stressed. And then the second they're stimulated, all of a sudden they have like a boost of color, or their color snaps back or changes in some fashion and holds that color while they're all stimulated and excited, and then usually that'll drop back off once the fish is back in that state where it's either doing something else, sparring, take your pick, relaxing. So it's possible that your guppies are just stimulated when you feed and they're like, hiya. The other thing is, if your water quality is poor, they could be showing muted colors. And then when you feed, because they're stimulated, it's coming back. So also test your water, make sure everything's pristine for the fish and that they're not essentially stressed and then only showing true color or proper color when stimulated, which would not be good.
Cool. Make sure, guys, just a reminder, hit that like button. We would really, really appreciate it. It would help us out a lot if you hit that like button, if you like what you're seeing. And how can you not? You have Thomas, we have Donuts, and Thomas, and I'm here too. So hit that like button for us, guys. Next up, looking at doing a fish-only saltwater tank.
Cool.
Do I have to use Toto water, or can I just use regular tap water?
Toto?
What's Toto water?
It's probably supposed to be RODI.
I like Toto water.
I don't know what Toto water is.
We should make up an acronym for that. We'll think of that later. Okay, but
I'm guessing that's probably an autocorrect.
Let's say.
Do you need to use RODI? No, you don't have to. But here's the thing: RODI water is the best base to start with, and the reason is tap water can have all kinds of junk in it, and in saltwater tanks, any amount, like extra amount of iron or phosphates or silicates or anything, is going to lead to algae, and you can get tons of it. So. And the other thing is, if you have any copper in the water, you can really end up with issues in keeping invertebrates alive. And invertebrates are usually what you'd use in a tank to help keep algae at bay. I mean, you can also use tangs or fish that'll eat algae, rabbitfish, stuff like that. But having a cleanup crew is going to be difficult for you if you have any junk in the water that's going to hurt them. So in marine tanks in general, I almost exclusively recommend that you use RODI water, and then your salt, whatever salt mix you're using, it's going to add everything back that your tank is going to need for that fish only tank. And fish still, like, they do need hardness in the water. They do need calcium and magnesium and alkalinity and stuff because they have bones. You don't want mineral devoid water because that's not good either. But your salt mix is going to add everything back that your aquarium is going to need. So having a blank slate is a lot better, so you're not getting too much of one thing, because what if your tap water already has a lot of calcium? Then you're getting calcium from your salt mix, even if it's just a basic salt mix like Instant Ocean, and then you have elevated levels of calcium. Not that that's going to be a huge issue, but it's just an example. So yes, I would highly recommend using RODI. It can save you a lot of headaches.
Cool. Tim Huseman, I hope I'm saying that right, Tim Huseman. Thank you so much, by the way.
Thanks, Tim!
Awesome. I've got a 30-liter reef tank with the Skimmer and easy corals. What type of livestock should I consider? Oh, sorry. And he actually posted another little thing. Sorry, I mean 60 liters.
60 liters. That's awesome. 2. I like that. So 60 liters is divided by 3. 3 times what is 60? I don't know, because I'm bad at math. 20?
Do you want me to look something up? Or
20 gallons?
Do you want to look it up?
No, it's fine. I'm going to say it's 20 gallons.
Yeah, well,
whatever.
We'll wing it.
For a tank that size, I'm a pretty big fan of small shrimp gobies and pistol shrimp as a combination. They're a lot of fun to watch. They're really interesting. Like I would do maybe like a Yasha. I think they're called Yashahashi gobies. They're white with yellow in the finnage and red stripes. They kind of look like a candy cane. It's really cool. There's also vampire shrimp goby, I think. That's what they're called. That's why I don't like common names. I should try to memorize all the Latin. All of it.
Do it.
They're awesome with pistol shrimp. Lots of fun to watch. You could do neon gobies, which are also called clear gobies. You could do coral gobies. There's a green and red striped coral goby that is really cool. These are all small fish that are not going to get very large and can be in a 20-gallon roughly or 60 liter. I think that's the right conversion.
More or less.
Very comfortably. Without much issue. Clownfish, 20 gallons is my minimum for clownfish. So if you're going to do clownfish, make sure you get a small species, one that's not going to grow huge. Like Ocellaris are pretty decent. But a pair would be the most you could do, just because they need a certain amount of space and they may get a little bit uppity with other fish in the tank. So you'd want to try to just keep them on their own, in my opinion. But you can also do other invertebrates like cleaner shrimp and peppermint shrimp, sexy dancing shrimp, actually a thing, anemone shrimp, porcelain crabs of various types, anemone crabs of various types. There's lots of stuff.
Why haven't we done a video yet on sexy dancing shrimps? That sounds so great.
I have not yet set up the right sort of club aquarium.
All right.
Club aquarium.
Yeah. Well, let's get on that, man, because that sounds incredible.
They're a lot of fun. They're called that because they they stick their bum up in the air and they kind of just wave it back and forth.
Like a little
and
shrimp,
they do that all
twerk.
day. Yeah, shrimp twerk.
Cool.
Love it.
I want to film that.
Yes, we'll get some at some point.
Okay. Fantastic. Was that the conclusion of your answer? Okay.
Yeah. That's
Awesome.
it. Thank you so much for that.
Yes, awesome. I really appreciate that. Guys, after your fish is healed from fungus, what do you do with your main tank?
What do you mean?
I don't know. Do you have to get rid of
Was
the
the
main tank?
fish in the main tank? Did you heal it from fungus in a different tank? Or did you do it in the main tank? I'm not full. Okay. Interpretation time.
We'll run with it.
If you medicated that fish in a separate system, once you're positive that fish is cleared of fungus and no other fish in the main tank are exhibiting any symptoms of fungus, you would just return that fish to the main system. That's it. If you treated the main system and once you're done with treating the tank and everybody's no longer showing symptoms, everything's good, you usually end your medication process with adding a butt ton of decent quality carbon to the filter to pull out any remaining medication so that there is zero medication left in the water. You can do a partial water change after that, somewhere around 30%, 25%, and just keep an eye on things. That's basically what you do. You can add a bacterial additive too if you're worried about any of the bacteria in your filter being damaged, but I don't believe most fungal medications are going to mess with your biological. So
cool. Can pea puffers kill other fish in my aquarium if they release a toxin?
I've never heard of that actually happening.
Okay, cool.
They are an incredibly tiny puffer. And unless your tank is very, very small, I cannot imagine they would have. I don't actually know the answer. I'm just guesstimating, but I don't think so. Because I've never heard of it, I don't think so. But that doesn't mean anything, really. I acknowledge that. I'll have to look that up. That is an incredible question that I've never been asked before in my entire,
16 years?
20
years?
Oh, yeah. It's going to be 20 years before I know it of aquarium industry. Keeping /store /everything. Whatever.
General experience.
Yes.
How big do you think a Betta tank should be?
In my honest opinion, I think 10 gallons. I think 10 gallons is a very comfortable size for a Betta, and it's very easy to keep a Betta in at that point. 5 gallons is definitely doable and is usually what I would consider my cutoff point. But I'm a little flexible in that if somebody has a 2.5 gallon tank with a Betta and it's got a filter and a heater and everything else to make that environment suitable for the Betta, I am personally not going to jump out and grab my pitchfork and my torch and my signs and start ranting and raving about how that's inappropriate. My key thing is if you can keep the environment stable for the fish and keep it clean and that fish has enough swimming space. Bettas don't move around a whole ton, especially not the ones that we've been breeding in captivity forever and ever and ever. I'm okay with it. But personally, I think 10 gallons is your best case scenario. And 5 gallons is what I would consider on the small side. But I hope that most people can understand what I'm saying about the 2.5 gallons. It's not a lot of space.
But if you give them all the necessities to live comfortably and well.
Before Betta. My issue with 2.5 gallon tanks specifically is that it's hard to filter it properly without providing more flow than a Betta is typically going to appreciate. That's the hard part. So that's why I think 5 gallons is my minimum. And then 10 gallons, it's just much easier.
You know what I see a lot in our comments? I see a lot of people commenting on like the top 10 do nots video, for instance.
Right.
Saying, well, I do most of these things and my fish are just fine. Or, I keep my Betta in a, tiny little bowl and it's been totally fine. And that really, that mentality doesn't make sense to me. It's like the idea of saying like, well, I never drive wearing my seatbelt and I'm fine.
Yeah.
It's like, so far, sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the idea that
this I'm going to jump on this.
Okay.
People don't like to feel like they're doing something wrong, and they especially don't want to feel like they're doing something morally wrong, right?
Yeah.
So when you start to challenge what somebody's been doing, unfortunately, a lot of people have a visceral reaction to it, and rather than sitting down and evaluating whether or not they could be doing something better, they jump on, well, I've been doing it this way and everything's okay, because it's a lot easier as a person just mentally to process that what you do is fine than it is to admit you're making a mistake or that you could be doing something better.
Yeah.
But I think that has a lot to do with pride in human just behavior being crappy.
Yes.
But yeah, like long story short, like I've and people have mentioned this in React videos. I know we're going on a bit of a tangent, but it is not my goal ever to point out what you're doing as something that is wrong and reprimand you for it or berate you for it. I don't want to do that. I don't think it has any place in the hobby. It doesn't help anyone. It doesn't encourage anyone. And it just creates a lot of tension between two sides, right? Yeah. So my goal is always to say what I see is going right, talk about what could be improved upon, and try to help somebody understand in a way that's going to be easy for them to handle and digest without getting offended. Because believe it or not, people do get offended. And if you continue to push them, they're just not going to want to listen to you. So it's a lot more, useful and friendly to just be like, hey, this is what you're doing right. I'm glad you love fish. I'm glad you love the hobby or whatever it is. It just applies to everything in life, really. And then say, hey, this is what you could be doing to make things even better. And then try to encourage them that way. Indeed. It's about encouragement, not about, wagging the finger. So anyways.
Sometimes it feels nice to wag the finger, but it doesn't always really help. Next up, see? Can Cichlid and Ghost Black Knife go together?
What kind of Cichlid? Black Ghost. Okay, Ghost Knives are really cool. I like them a lot. I believe they're one of the electric fishes. But they also have pretty specific requirements for being happy. Now, I have seen big black ghost knives and cichlid tanks and stuff, but if you provide them like with a tube or something that they can hide in, I think they're mostly nocturnal anyways, and they're going to come out at night and do most of their feeding and hunting then. And you can target feed them because they're not nearly as swift as cichlids are. Then you could possibly get away with it. But I've always been a big fan of keeping fish like that in specialized aquariums where your focus is on them, because it's a lot easier to keep them if you are revolving the rest of the inhabitants and how the tank is set up around their needs, because they are more particular than other fish. So that's my answer.
Good answer.
Yeah.
For some reason, my Betta water turned cloudy after a water change. Why is this?
You probably accidentally removed a bunch of beneficial bacteria at the same time. And when you added that water back, it created that white haziness or gray cloudiness. And that is a bacterial bloom. that should go away on its own, but be careful, test your water, just make sure you're not getting an ammonia spike, because sometimes when that happens, if you feed at your regular, some people are heavy-handed when feeding, and if you feed at your regular intervals in your regular quantities, you can push the ammonia up because the bacteria is still kind of recolonizing, and you won't be able to have that converted from ammonia to nitrate until that bacteria is done. So just be safe and test the water during this time. And just make sure, this is in our top 10 do nots, but make sure you don't ever clean your filter and do a water change at the same time, or like take all your gravel out and like boil it or something and then put it back in, because a lot of bacteria is actually in your gravel as well. So yeah.
Cool. Thomas and Brian, hello from southern Alberta. Hi! Good having you here.
I'm sorry it's so cold up there.
Oh, yeah. Cold down here.
It's not even that bad. Like in Toronto, it was like minus 40 the other day with wind chill. Here it's like, we're at minus 14 going, brr, it's so cold.
I think it made it to like minus 23 with wind chill the other day.
I don't know, man. Maybe at night.
No, it was during the day. It was during the day.
I don't have your problems. I'm in the country.
Fair enough.
You're right on the water.
I'm right near the water. Yeah, it gets pretty
that is
brisk.
Chilly. Yeah, that is brisk.
It's not warm. Yeah. Not as bad as minus 40. I'll take it over that anytime.
Jeez.
Yeah. Next up, how do you clean a quarantine tank after you've had internal parasites present in quarantine fish? Wanting to bring in more fish and want to make sure there's no buggies present.
Just what I would do is I would put it this way: when you medicated, if you medicated in that tank, you should have killed the parasites. Like all of them. If the fish stopped getting the parasite and you had them in quarantine long enough to prove that they are no longer sick, there is nothing in the quarantine tank anymore, technically. But that being said, I would rinse everything. Like basically start the quarantine tank over, your biomedia, everything. Either rinse it or throw it away and get new biomedia. Like with sponge filters, that's not terribly expensive. It's usually a few dollars for a replacement sponge for a sponge filter. So what? So yeah, just rinse everything off. You can even use chlorine if you want to kill everything, and then obviously you can use a dechlorinator to remove it afterwards, right? So then you can rinse everything, fill it up, dechlorinate it, let it run, dump all that again, fill it back up, and start it anew, and then you'll be sure that there's nothing in it, relatively, anyways, unless there's some kind of superhuman parasite.
Sounds awesome. Superhuman parasite. Super
parasitic parasite.
Different types of platies interbreed.
Yeah.
Why not?
Platy's a platy. They're just different colors. I
Cool.
hope I'm right. That'd be embarrassing.
Yeah,
you can. Here's the thing. When you take like Mickey Mouse platies and sunset platies and breed them together, their offspring are not going to be either Mickey Mouse or sunset platies necessarily. You could get a cross between them, so on and so forth. So you're going to get mixed platies, like mixed run platies. They're not going to be like specific. But that's also how people come up with new types of, color patterns and stuff and morphs and live bears. I actually just on Facebook the other day saw, I don't even know where it was from, this amazingly cool blue guppy. I've never seen one like it before. It had like a cobra / Endler type pattern, but it was solid blue all the way through with black and
sounds incredible.
Gorgeous. But anyways, yes, people invent new colors and patterns and stuff, and you can do that by mixing up all your platies and seeing what happens, and then trying to line breed specific traits that you like.
Sweet. Quick question. Can I use pea gravel from the local hardware store in my aquarium?
Technically, yeah. It requires a ton of rinsing, and you have to make sure whatever it is inert and has never been treated with anything. That's the part that's hard to verify. You'd have to contact the brand or whatever it is and double check. But technically, yes, you can. The reason a lot of people prefer to use aquarium gravels from aquarium companies, like decorative gravels, whether they're painted or whatever, is either they're trying to achieve a certain look, so they like the aesthetics of those gravels, whether or not it's a painted color or a natural gravel, like a natural color of gravel or gravel mix. Two, a lot of the pea gravels you're going to get from the aquarium store have been tumbled for a very long time and therefore are very smooth and rounded on the outside, as opposed to raw gravel that you would get from various sources. So if you're going to keep fish that may want to lie on the bottom or have sensitive bellies or skin, The sharper stuff that you'll likely find at your hardware store is going to be a little bit harsh, whereas the rounded stuff is going to be a little bit easier on them. And B, you don't have to rinse out aquarium gravel from the store nearly as much as you do from like a hardware store. Like an aquarium shop, you buy gravel from there, it's pre-rinsed, pre-washed. There's going to be a very small amount of dust and stuff in it. You're going to spend some time rinsing that other gravel out. So if that's something you're willing to do for the price difference, or if that gravel just happens to look the way you want it to, verify it's aquarium safe at the company that makes it, just basically that they don't treat it in any way, and then rinse the snot out of it, and you could technically use it.
Sweet. My protein skimmer is brand new.
Ha!
Brand spanking new.
Awesome.
I just put it in my sump. When I plug it in, it just overflows. I turned on the air and pump. I turned on the air and pumped down, but it still happens. Why? Only added new frags and 2-part solution.
Okay. All right. So first I was going to say, whenever you get a brand new skimmer, they have what's referred to as a break-in period where they kind of run on overtime at the beginning. It's very hard to dial them in because they are just like pouring bubbles out. I don't know if it's any sort of, resin on the plastic. It's acrylic usually. But if there's something on the acrylic that causes it or whatever it is, but there's usually some kind of break-in for a skimmer. But there's something else that could be doing it, because you just mentioned that you added new frags. If you use epoxy putty when you added frags to your tank, that epoxy putty, as it cures, releases a chemical into the system. It is completely harmless to everything in the system, but it drives skimmers bonkers for a while. It can be days and days and days. So anytime you use putty, grab an extra bag, chuck it full of carbon, and throw that in the sump to remove that chemical from the system. It'll do it pretty quickly, probably within a few hours, and that will stop the skimmer from going bananas. Because if you turn it all the way down, which is usually what I recommend during break-in, if you turn it all the way down and it's still pouring out, it's probably because you have chemical in the water from mounting your frags. That is my guess. 2-part solution should do nothing to the skimmer at all, but those frags. So yeah, give that a shot. That should work. That should help.
Awesome. Next up, Paul Martin. Thank you so much.
Yay, Paul Martin!
Number one for the lovely super chat, and also for your work as our Prime Minister years and years ago. It was a pleasure. I assume it's the same one. Next up, Paul Martin says, because of the small holes sintered glass, pumice, lava rock media have, how do you know when these medias have expired or plugged and need replacing? Because of small... Oh, let's see.
Is it the same?
Oh, it is the same. All right. Paul Martin, thank you. Twice, I guess. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so any insight on that?
Okay, so here's the thing. I have not, in my career as of yet... people won't like me saying this. I have never, in my career as of yet, had an issue where my biological media stopped working. It hasn't happened. Not on tanks that I've had set up for 5 years or more. I think a key component of making sure that your biomedia remains effective long term is that you have filter medium before it that is going to filter out a lot of the particulates, and also that you constantly rinse that media. If you allow it to cake with stuff and sit there for months on end and then rinse it, and that keeps happening, eventually you're right. Like, you're going to get all kinds of, even just bacterial buildup. Like, I'm sure the bacteria themselves, have their life cycles, growth and death cycles inside of the media, can probably plug it up just doing that. But if you take care of the media and rinse it and, don't neglect it, it should continue to work pretty well for years. That said, if you ever, I haven't reached this point in my career, but I've heard of other people having these issues. If you do reach a point where your bioload hasn't changed, nothing has changed, but you are starting to have issues with ammonia in the system, or your nitrates are starting to go up and you haven't changed anything, I would say it's entirely possible that the biomedia is choked out. And if rinsing it and putting it back in, and I mean with tank water, you never rinse with tap water because you kill the bacteria. But if rinsing it in tank water and putting it back doesn't solve that problem, then at that point you can look at replacing it. I don't think anybody should really be replacing their biomedia any more than once a year, if that. Most likely you're probably going to be going 2 years to 3 years before you even think about replacing it. Like, I don't think you're going to have those symptoms any earlier than that unless you are totally neglecting your tank. But it always comes down to how we maintain our aquariums and how effective we are doing that and staying on top of it. I know lives get busy and people let things go, and there are people out there who's like, I haven't cleaned my canister for 6 months. Awesome. I hope it doesn't bite you in the butt. But yeah, that's.
I love sarcastic thumbs up. By the way. I really love it.
But that's kind of like my opinion on it, I guess.
That's kind of like your opinion, man.
Yeah.
Next up, Justin. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Are male swordtail fish aggressive?
Towards other swordtail males, and yeah, they can be. Or actually, any other live bears, I've seen them get a little bit aggressive. They're not terrible. They're really not terrible. I find guppy males to be like awful in terms of aggression, especially towards each other. The worst is when you've got like 3 or 4 males that have all decided one guppy female in the tank is the one. They're ignoring the rest, and you just see this horde of guppy males chasing this one female, and you're like, no! Oh, I have the same problem with my chickens, actually. Every once in a while, these roosters are like following one hen around, and I'm like, leave her alone.
Come here, little hen, I'll save you.
Yeah, I digress. I have like straight up saved them from that. But I haven't noticed in particular that swordtails are terribly aggressive as far as males go, even with females. But if you want to try to curb aggression in fish in general and with live bears, having all males and having more than 3 is a good option. Or having a few males to many females will often help too. That way, no female is being hopefully singled out and, ganged up on.
Fair enough. So Justin, thank you so much, by the way, for that. Guys, we are starting to run low on time, so if your question is urgent, we do have that super chat function if you choose to use it. Otherwise, we're going to keep going down our list in the order by which questions were asked. So thank you guys again, all you guys who have sent us super chats. We really appreciate it. Any little bit helps. So back to the regular list here. I've separated my platy from my molly breeding tank, and I was wondering if the platy would get along well with a betta. Thanks.
The platy probably won't care. The betta might. Betas are tricky. Sometimes they don't. And sometimes they don't want anything else even remotely near them. They're pretty territorial. So you could try it, but you want to do it on a day where you can be home and basically sit in front of that tank and watch. If your betta even takes one go at that platy, the answer is no. And then you would have to remove it and put it somewhere else.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Do Corydoras go well with Eco Complete?
Ooh. I'm gonna say depending on the Cory, most likely not. Eco Complete is a little bit on the rough side, although it goes from small granules to large granules. It's rough. If it's the only substrate you're using, I probably wouldn't put Cories on it. If you're using it only in the planted sections and then you have a large area of sand as an accent perhaps, and that's where you're feeding your Cories, then that's probably going to be okay. But I'd still be wary. I know, like, I've used Eco Complete a bunch of times, and I find that it is pretty coarse, and I wouldn't want the Cories to mess up their beautiful little barbels or bellies, which would be my concern.
Do I have to add some type of nutrients in my tank if I put Amazon sword plants?
Yeah, an all-purpose fertilizer will usually work pretty well. You can also use root tabs and an iron supplement. I mean, swords like iron for the most part. I believe swords are like an iron sink. They just love it. But yeah, so either some sort of root tab. Sika makes flourish tabs, I believe. And API, I think, makes root tabs. I think so. That would work. And then, like I said, general purpose fertilizer. I like the Big Al's one is pretty good. Or Seachem Flourish, or I mean any of them are decent. The Tropica stuff's good too, actually. Very good. But yes.
Awesome. Hello, this isn't a question, just a statement. Hello, my friend just wanted to share our excitement.
Yay!
We're on our way to pick up our new Aquarium 120 Mega Flow.
Awesome!
And we are stoked.
Haha! That's a nice day.
We'll be asking a lot of questions. Hope y'all will bear with us.
Of course.
We will bear with you. We will enjoy it very much.
Kim,
so.
It's our pleasure. That's
Yes.
what we're here for.
Yeah.
Love sharing the hobby. I love hearing when people are getting a new tank. because I get excited when I get a new tank, and I can only imagine how excited you guys must be.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun, and we love it. We love having people who are new to the hobby join us for these and ask their questions and share their trials and tribulations. It's a lot of fun. So yes, definitely looking forward to that. Next question: what do you need to keep vampire shrimp?
Not a ton, really. You know what? We're gonna do a care guide for them sooner or later. I did do a vampire shrimp, how to set up a tank for a vampire shrimp. Didn't I? Vampire crabs. Vampire shrimp. Okay.
I almost linked to that video. I went, we have this.
Just don't mind me. It's the donuts. Vampire shrimp are like flower shrimp, essentially, and they are filter feeders. They will filter feed particulates out in the water. One thing you can do is crush a flaked food for them and into essentially a powder. That is very easy for them to take in. They're pretty decent tank inhabitants. I don't have a ton of hands-on experience with them because they are creepy. And I have not put them in any of my tanks because they are creepy. Their front Legos are thick and kind of look like tarantula pedipalp. Are they pedipalps or are those the ones on their butt? I don't know. The tarantula fangs, they're creepy. Sorry, I got confused at the beginning there. Sometimes I just get excited and hear what I want to hear instead of what I'm actually hearing.
All right, well, fair enough. All good?
Yes.
Okay, next up. I know that noise is bad for fish, but is light to moderate acoustic guitar playing okay? If you want to,
I think it's even preferred.
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing people don't realize is that the vibration of your filter against the aquarium or pumps in the tank is so much louder than you even think it is. So it really drones out a lot of what's happening outside of the aquarium. The kinds of noises that are bad for fish are concussive noises against the glass. So it's pretty. You got to be playing music pretty darn loud to shake the aquarium enough that sound wave's really going to transfer into the aquarium enough to startle the fish. So if you're not tapping on the glass and you're just watching a movie at moderate level in the home, or you're listening to some music, it's not a big deal. It's sudden, like loud, impactful sounds that are being transferred through the glass that are really going to kind of disturb your fish. Beyond that, I'm sure you'll see they're okay. Play guitar near them. The movement of your hand will probably scare them more than the sweet, sweet sounds of those strings resonating the beautiful tune of which you are playing.
Okay. Next up, a good friend of the show,
Maddie!
She's here as always, except for last time. Actually, she was sick last time, I think, so she didn't show up.
Okay.
But she's back.
Free pass.
And she has a question for you.
Oh-ho!
My Flula canister filter is so loud. I've tried to replace the propeller, but it still makes a buzzing noise. What do I do?
Well, got to figure out where the buzzing noise is coming from. Does it always buzz? Does it only buzz sometimes? Is it buzzing? Is there any way that an air pump or anything is getting air into the intake of the filter? Are the input and output of the filter directly side by side? That can sometimes cause cavitation. But usually, if it's just a steady hum and it doesn't sound like grinding or rattling, that's going to be hard to get rid of. Sometimes that's just the sound that filter is going to make. Especially if you've replaced the impeller and it's still doing it. But if it has any kind of rattle or grinding to it, it could be air getting trapped in the system either via cavitation or because the air pump is blowing air and the filter intake sucking it in. It could be small pieces of grit or gravel or something like that getting inside there. If you have any fish that sift the sand or dust things up and it could get into the filter, that could cause it. But those kinds of situations will usually show wear on the impeller. Like when you pull it out, you'd be able to feel on the magnet of the impeller that it's been etched essentially with rings from being rubbed inside. And then you'd even be able to feel in the impeller well that would be happening. If it is just humming away and you can't get it to stop, you might even want to reach out to Fluval. Sometimes things like that are under warranty if it is well beyond what is considered reasonable for that filter. Hard to say. I wish I could give you more information. We need a discourse for something like that to kind of drill it down to what it might actually be. But I would check the things that I mentioned. And if you've knocked all those off, I would contact Fluval directly and be like, hey, I don't know why it's so loud. And then hopefully they can steer you in the right direction.
Awesome. I just bought 2 pea puffers or dwarf puffers. Do I have to trim their teeth? Is that a thing? Trimming teeth?
I've never seen anybody trim the teeth of any puffer in person. But those puffers are tiny. I think what you could probably do that would be as effective as anything is feed them foods that have shells. So you can get often very small clams on like a half shell that they can eat. Feed them snails. You can purposefully go to like a local aquarium store. Say you want just a butt ton of snails, bladder snails, ram's horn snails. Just tell them, I want snails. I want them to breed like stink. I want a plethora of them in the substrate all the time and all over the tank. Set up a little 10-gallon tank, whatever, put plants in it, give it a ton of light so it gets algae and all kinds of crazy gunk, and then throw the snails in there and let them propagate. And then you can take those snails out and just chuck them in the tank for the puffers, and that will be their either primary or secondary food source that gives them an opportunity to file down their beaks because there's all that calcium shell for them to crunch through, and they absolutely will crunch through it. And that will help prevent overgrowth of the beaky tooth beaks, beak tooths. So I'm going to stop talking.
Oh, good. What is the best or safest way to take down an aquarium for a move when wanting to keep all the livestock? Now, this is a question. I've wanted to do a video on this for quite a while. Yeah. How to move with your aquarium, not have to sell it off or whatever. What are some of the crucial steps there?
Okay, so the key thing here is you don't want to lose your beneficial bacteria. You don't want to have to start the tank with all brand new water, and you want it to happen as quickly as possible. So number one, either the first thing you move is the tank or the last thing you move is the tank, or you just pick a very specific date at which the only thing you move is the tank, because it'll take you probably all day. And I am not joking because I've done this a bunch of times. So the whole name of the game here is do it safely and quickly, because the more time you take, the worse it is for the aquarium. But a general process is, first thing in the morning, you drain all the water from the aquarium, or as much as you possibly can physically keep and take with you, into buckets. The fish then go into said buckets. You don't want to overpopulate the bucket with fish. And if you absolutely feel like it's not going to be enough, like it's a long distance, like several hours, you can get a battery-operated air pump and have that in the bucket as well, so that the fish have oxygenation, which is going to be important if they're going to be on a long trip. You then kind of take the tank apart and move it first. Again, you don't want to wash the gravel or anything. You just want to get everything into buckets and bags and whatever you have to put it in. Get it all loaded up. Get everything taken over to the house all in one shot, the new place. Get the tank in place first. Get all the filter and get all the decorations and everything back in as quickly as you can. Again, quickly. You don't have to worry about it being perfect. You can dink around with it after. But then you want to get the water back in and filtration running, and then start adding those fish back in. And like I said, doing it fast is pretty critical. And that's basically what you have to do in a nutshell. I mean, I would like to do, like Brian said, we want to do a video. The thing is, we have to find a tank we have to move. Like, do it on purpose.
We should set one up at your house.
And then just move it here.
We need, I'm going to set...
We need something bigger than that.
We need something bigger than that for our background, right? So, it's something to think about.
You know what? Okay, so there's a tank that I've currently got that I won't need soon because of other builds we're doing.
Sure.
So, and it's bigger than these. Not a ton bigger, but it's bigger. You know which one I'm talking about. It's currently salty.
Okay, yes, I do understand now. The code, good code.
Yeah. So,
unbreakable.
So we can, when that finally gets out of there, we can set that up as a freshwater tank, and then purposefully move it from my place 45 minutes away to your place and show the process.
I'm in.
Because it's basically the same whether or not the tank's huge or small. It's just how many people you need and how long it takes to take down and put back up.
Yeah. And in the video I can do on that as well, like from my point of view, is I can show you how, if you're not an aquarist yourself, how you can have someone else who is do all the work for you,
right,
and set it up, and you have a beautiful aquarium. And then also how to have him come to your house every 2 weeks and do maintenance right after a live stream. That's what I'm thinking. I like it. I like the track.
Soon Brian's going to be bringing me donuts.
I'm going to have to. All right. Are angelfish aggressive to other angelfish?
Yes.
Cool. I bought a 265-gallon Baffles tank, just like you. It was secondhand from Big Al's. Tank was disgusting. It took me 3 hours to clean. Canopy and stand were falling apart. But got it for $500. Good deal? Maybe?
Honestly, if canopy and stand were falling apart, if they're falling apart and unusable, okay, just for the glass alone, $500 is a great deal. If it wasn't scratched all to hell and it was just dirty, that's a great, like, insane deal, because those tanks are more than $1,000 a piece. In fact, they may be closer to $2,000 a piece. I'm trying to remember. I know the whole combo, the stand, canopy, and aquarium, is roughly 5,000 Canadian. So yes, that is an insane deal. Hopefully awesome. The stand and canopy aren't a complete write-off, and it's just, I know the paint can sometimes flake off if it gets wet and stuff, but it is pretty decent wood. So yeah, but yes, that's an insane deal, and congratulations, and I can't wait to see what you do with it, and you better email it to us at
Brian@bigals.com for a React.
Yes.
Thing? Okay, great. Good.
Hey, you can even send it not set up, just all dirty and stuff, and I can react to that if you want.
Yes. I love the idea. All right. I don't know what BBA means, but I have a BBA algae issue.
Blackbeard.
Ooh, okay.
Blackbeard algae. It's redundant. BBA algae is blackbeard algae.
Okay, fantastic. It's killing plants and taking over. Any tips for getting it under control?
Yes. So when I had blackbeard algae, my what would you call it? My silver bullet, as it were, was to double dose Chem Flourish XL, and it worked darn quick. So by the next day, all the algae had gone from a black color to a kind of pale rusty color, and then clear, and then melted away and never came back. And it literally took my tank from looking like Garbola, like it was on everything, all through my moss, on the rim of every single leaf in the tank. It basically looked like a tank of blackbeard algae. And before the week was over, it looked like a planet tank that had been running forever, looking pristine. So that is what I do. I will say, though, they don't tell you you can do this. It's not on the bottle as far as I'm aware, unless they've changed something since I've read the bottle a few days ago. So you have to proceed with caution, because if you overdose this stuff beyond the double dose that everybody, you can read about it on the internet, everybody recommends it for algae issue, you can and will kill fish, because I've done it by accident, and I am not proud of it, and it was a long time ago, and I had misunderstood something, and I screwed up.
It happens.
Don't beat yourself up, man. So I don't like hurting fish. So yes, don't overdo it. Make sure you're measuring very, very precisely, and it will clear up the blackbeard algae issue very quickly.
Cool. Is it true that Vallisneria don't go well with shrimp?
I don't know. I've never had shrimp and Vallisneria in the same tank. I would have a hard time. Like, maybe, what is it? The shrimp eat the Vallisneria? Is that the problem?
I would assume so. Huh?
Jungle Vals grow so darn quick. I can't imagine the army of shrimp you would need to clear out a tank of Vallisneria. Like, I honestly don't. They're awesome. I like Vals a lot. I don't know. I wish I had a definitive answer. I'm not sure. I haven't heard that myself.
Fair enough. I've heard adding a teaspoon of salt to hatch killifish eggs makes survival rate higher. Is this true? Have you heard this before?
I believe that might be true. And I don't know if that is to help with fungus or something. I haven't bred or raised killifish, and I haven't done any research on it because it's never been on my radar. So I can't say for certain, but it does sound like something that I did stumble across once. Any other question? I can't be an expert on everything, okay? I know a little bit about a lot of things.
Get out.
Yeah.
You're a fraud.
And general aquarium stuff, is my bread and butter, and saltwater, obviously, and reefs. But yes, specific fish stuff, you got to catch a fish that I've had a lot of experience with or have recently read about for some reason.
Yeah, but again, you can always email our support team and ask that question, and we do have a team of...
By the way, just so you know, if you reach out to our support team and you ask to have the email sent to me directly, I don't recommend medication emails being sent to me, because we have a far better team to answer those kinds of things with literally daily experience on handling fish medication. But if you do want to send me something directly and say hello or have me answer a question I couldn't get to, you can send it to our support team and say, hey guys, please pass this on to Thomas, and they will send it to me. It happens on a daily basis. So go ahead and do that.
Awesome. Want to upgrade my internal filter, Fluval U2, to a canister filter.
Haha!
Any suggestions for a 15-gallon tank?
Yeah, Eheim 2213 canister.
What? Are you recommending Eheim?
I am.
This is weird.
I know. Okay, so I love the Eheim Classic series. They don't have baskets. They don't have a ton of bells and whistles, but they last for freaking ever. They're a solid filter. The flow rating is tailored to the biological media's performance more than anything else. And quite frankly, they're a great long-term filter to have. I've got one that is now probably like 20 years old. So I stand behind them. I love them. I am absolutely obsessed with them. Otherwise, you could also look at another filter I actually really like, which is a lot newer, is the Cobalt EXT canister filters. They have the pump not attached to the actual filter unit, so you can either run it on the canister if you want, or in the tank, which means you don't have to prime the canister like you would with many others. You plug it in and it will fill the canister full of water, and then it'll come back out, which I think is very useful for a lot of people. The other thing about that filter that is really, really cool is the valve on top of it that you would open or close to remove the canister for maintenance creates a closed loop when you take the canister off, so your pump can keep circulating water in the aquarium while you maintain the filter somewhere else, and when you bring it back and hook it back up, you open it up, and it can fill it on its own and get everything running, and the whole time your tank still had circulation. So I also like that filter for that reason, but still, I will always buy Eheim Classic Series canisters. If they ever stop making them, I don't know what I will do.
Oh, that would be so sad. You'd have to stockpile before.
I will cry a million tears.
Yeah. Okay, we're pretty much at a racetrack here, but I think we'll do what, 2 more questions? And
then let's do a couple more.
Fantastic. This one isn't a question, it's just a comment. It says, "Yay! I legit bought donuts to bring you luck, and in the hopes of joining you in spirit."
Ha! That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. It worked. Cool. Amazing.
That's so cool.
I have 3 zebra danios in a 20-gallon. Should I increase that number to 5 or 6? That big of a difference?
You could easily do 6 zebra danios in a 20-gallon. No problem. They're more fun to watch in larger groups.
Cool.
Straight up. They're a ton of fun to watch.
Awesome. Any suggestions for moss cleaner besides shrimp?
Moss. Like Java moss and stuff? I find live bears do a pretty darn good job of algae removal for the most part. Like, guppies aren't a bad option, honestly. I like guppies. They've kept moss in many tanks that we've kept in the office way back when, pristinely clean. So
cool.
Yeah.
Next up, you know what? We'll call this one our last one. Good morning, Thomas and Brian.
Hiya!
Hello. I've been a fan of yours, and that's why I became got into the aquatics hobby because of your videos.
Yay!
Awesome. That's
I love
really,
hearing that.
Really cool. Question is, I have a question and need advice regarding upgrading a tank from a 10-gallon to a 55-gallon. Should I use the same H2O in the 10-gallon H2O and add more tap H2O and H2O conditioner, or make new H2O in the 55-gallon?
There's a couple ways to go about this. This is what I would do. Get the 55-gallon tank running on its own. Don't use water from your current tank. Get the filtration going, get everything running, if you can, separate some biomedia from your current filter and put it in the filter of the 55-gallon, and then just, let it go. Let it do its thing for a couple of weeks. You can add a little pinch of fish food every day. That'll help get the 55-gallon tank cycled. Then when it comes time to actually transfer fish, you can take all of the water, basically remove, what was it, 20 gallons? 5 gallons?
Yeah, let me go back to the question here. 10 gallons.
10 gallons. So take 10 gallons of water out of the 55 and just do whatever you want with it. And then move all of the water from the 10-gallon plus the fish into the 55-gallon tank. That way the tank's already cycled and you don't have to worry about going through that. I mean, realistically, if you move the filter from the 10-gallon tank and its entirety and all the water to the 55 after you set it up and it's come to temperature and everything's going okay, the biological media in the 10-gallon aquarium filter should be enough to support the fish. And there's a lot of water for dilution. So you technically could do that. But the safest thing to do is just to cycle the tank first, like I said.
Okay. Cool. Well, I guess that's it. We'll call it a day there. We've run just over an hour. So that's about it for us, guys. But thank you, as always. Thank you so much for joining us on these Q&As. We really, really, really love it. It's a great time for us. Yeah, it's a nice way to break up sort of the monotonous shooting of videos, that whole process. A chance to talk to you guys directly.
It's a different experience for me. Yeah. I like it.
He does like
just
it.
Like the React series. It's another different experience. Like I love interacting with you guys. It's tons and tons of fun. And, one of the best parts of the hobby for me is sharing the hobby with other people. So I think this is just one of those great opportunities where we get to kind of get more in touch with you guys, the community, rather than just me, being a clown.
You're still
videos
a clown,
constantly.
You're still a clown
can't help it. I was born that way.
Yeah, that's fine. But we really do appreciate it, guys. With that said, we mentioned it last time. We'll mention it again. Our goal this year is to surpass 100,000 subscribers. That is our main ambition for this year.
It's a good. I think we'll get there.
Oh, we should get there. Yeah, we should get there. I mean, we're on track to get there within the next few months. I think within 4 or 5 months. But we want to expedite that process. We need your help to do that. We need to grow. We need to get to 100K. And when we get there, what are we going to do?
I am working my little tush off to have a really fun and exciting giveaway. I know you guys have been asking for contests or giveaways for a long time. And you can ask Brian. I know you can't because you're just...
Yeah, you can. I got you here. Yeah. Ask me.
Ask Brian. I've been working hard. I really want this to be like a really crazy giveaway. And I want there to be as many winners as possible and all kinds of stuff. So...
how many winners? Can we mention? Or should we mention?
Okay, look, nothing's definitive yet because
it's all a nice idea in our
obviously I have a lot of footwork to do in terms of gaining support and making sure all the wheels turn the right way. But I'm trying to get 100 prizes. 100. That way, when we hit 100,000 subs, there will literally be a 1 in 1,000 chance of winning, which is kind of the best odds for any kind of draw or lottery you can think of.
Yeah, much better than most things. So
so I'm working diligently to get that. I think we're already at like 20. So the ball's rolling.
We have some time. So once we hit that 100K mark, that's when we launch this giveaway, this crazy giveaway of all these different things. So again, we need your help. Anything you can do, sharing our channel everywhere, sharing our videos, telling your friends, your family, your great Aunt Mildred, who probably doesn't even have fish. Let her know. Really, anything you can do to get the word out about us is helpful.
And then we can just do that giveaway sooner.
We just want to do it.
I'm just jazzed.
Yeah, we just want to do it. So really, help get us there, guys. In the meantime, join us for these Q&As every 2 weeks. Check out all of our other videos, our React series, all our educational stuff, everything that we do. Make sure you tune in for those. We'll see you guys hopefully all in another 2 weeks for another Q&A.
Yep.
Same fish time, same fish channel. So make sure you're here. And I think that's about it on my end. Anything you want to say to the nice folks out there in aquarium land?
Just keep on tanking. That's it.